Hello and welcome to the Casual Coders podcast. My name is Kyle. I'm here with Ian, Alex, and Chandler, and we have a bunch of cool topics to talk about today. Let's get right into them.
All
Ian,
right.
what is our first topic?
We're ragging on Linus for the video that he recently
no,
released.
we're starting with hate.
Yeah, we're starting with hate. Yo, woo,
Getting heated. Just to let you know, Linus, I'm not affiliated with him. We love you.
Honestly, as a whole, I really like LinusTechTips. I would say they're huge and positive.
I will say I hate you for your
Nexus,
Linux videos. Your Linux videos sucked, but everything else is great.
I think that they have different like target audiences, you know? Like in order to watch like Gamers Nexus, you really need to be in like PC parts components versus
I mean, yeah, but you also got to be more pro-consumer, I think. I don't know.
Linus is a little bit more mainstream, I think.
It's a little more
Linus
mainstream
than the Gamers
Steve.
Nexus.
Yeah.
But I still watch both. So
I'll watch both, yeah. All right, but I want to rag on Linus for his reselling battery videos.
Not reselling,
but
recycling.
selling, like replacing the lithium cells
okay.
inside of batteries.
cell, like CELL.
Yeah, CELL.
that's why we have a lipo on the table.
That's why
or
we
not
got-
lipo,
this is a
Lion.
lipo. Yes, it's a lipo.
Is it a lipo?
Is it really?
Yes, it's a lithium polymer pack.
No way.
Yeah.
Cool.
These things carry a ton of energy.
Yeah,
So-
they do.
So
Lithium
they-
polymer is a battery, right?
yeah,
And
lithium polymer is a battery chemistry. It's
And-
very highly energy dense and uses some, well, less than great materials for the environment, i.e. lithium and occasionally cobalt and some other things like that.
I'm under the impression that those chemicals by themselves don't actually cause an issue. It's just when you package them in such a way that they interact with each other to separate those chemicals back out.
Yeah, there's
rough.
some stuff inside of there. If you have a whole ton of them really compressed together as they discharge energy, that energy that they have inside of them, it keeps coming out, right? And so if you set a whole cluster of batteries like a Tesla on fire, it will be a self-sustaining fire.
So a Tesla
Impossible to
uses
extinguish.
18650 cells.
Yes, that is correct. But they use
what is-
7,000 18650 cells.
What is the battery chemistry of a 18650 cell? They're probably
Lithium
different. also.
ion. It's
There are a
slightly
lot.
different, I think. I don't recall the exact differences. It's basically the same, just a different form factor.
Yeah, it'd be really interesting to like do a comparison between them because I think the biggest difference is
The
like
biggest difference is going to be your current output because these are square flat cells. So it's a bunch of layers on top of each other of material. Whereas an 18650 cell is one big roll. So what you get with the 18650 cell is a higher energy density, but a lower energy mobility is maybe the best way to put that. This little battery right here is the size of, I don't know, 2, maybe 3 18650 cells. But it's 6 lithium polymer cells, a much lower capacity, but it'll discharge 100 amps easily, just at the snap of my fingers if I short that battery together.
continuous or peak.
That is semi-continuous.
Because continuous means it can sustain it like forever, right?
It'll be
Versus peak
continuous
is
at
like
around 60 to 80 amps. It should peak somewhere around 120, 140 amps.
yeah, as long as it's like a very short amount of time because
And that's at 24 volts.
I think when it's peaking, what's happening is well, in addition to all that energy leaving the battery, is it heats up rapidly.
That is correct,
and
yes.
it's the heat that destroys the cells themselves.
When these come off of quads, if we're flying pretty aggressively, they'll be nice and warm. Nice toasty. You can just heat up your hands in the winter.
Yeah,
if it's,
because you're
cold out.
outside in the cold flying. your
Yeah,
drone.
right, exactly.
But
But
at 100
discharging that energy, I mean, very rapidly, right? This is a 1,300 milliamp hour battery at 25 volts.
1,300 mAh.
So at 1.3 amps, it would last an hour.
Yeah, 1.3 amps, it lasts an hour, but at the rates that we're discharging them, they last 5 minutes on a quad.
So for all you non-electrical engineers, it's a lot of energy in a very small package.
A lot of energy in a very small package being discharged very quickly.
But what does Linus have to do with this?
Well, Linus resold his
back on
battery.
time.
Linus,
Yes.
Linus, also known as LinusTechTips Sebastian.
Oh my God. Recently published a video where they took apart some old camera batteries to pull the old, dead, bad, used 18650 cells out of them and tried to replace them.
For his red camera, I think.
Yeah, for a red camera.
For a camera
and
where the
Sony
batteries were
camera.
like $800 or $900 a pack.
Yeah, right,
They were
exactly. Where
insanely
it sort of makes
expensive.
sense to do something like that, right? And the way you make a pack of 18650 cells is by taking nickel strips and welding the batteries together. So for the big battery, it was a red camera battery. They had, I don't know, maybe 20 cells all together in there. And you could look at it, and it was one large bank of parallel cells, maybe 12, I think, and one smaller bank of a couple series cells. So the difference between parallel is in parallel, you're adding capacity, but the voltage stays the same. In series, you're adding the voltage, but the capacity stays the same. In parallel, you'll get higher current, and in series, you'll get the same current at a higher voltage. If you
So in
break it
normal
down
speak,
to watts,
parallel means lasts longer, and series means
It produces more energy.
no, it's the same either way. It's the same watt hours.
Yeah, it is the same capacity. I guess it's just what
It's
what
the
voltage
same
you're running
overall
at.
capacity. It's just different voltage
Okay.
and current.
yeah. But if you have one pack, let's say, and it'll last an hour, if you put two of those same packs in parallel,
It will
It'll last
last twice
hours.
as long.
Yep.
Yeah.
I guess that was my main point.
But if you have 8 batteries and you put them all in parallel, and you put 8 batteries in series,
Yeah,
they're both
overall-
the same amount of energy.
However, they can disperse a different amount of energy at different time frames. So one battery, which would be the parallel one, I think, would be for a lot of energy over a long period of time, while the ones in series would be for or I think
You're
backwards.
backwards.
I'm
Parallel
backwards.
Parallel lets you take the current from
I
all
like
the batteries
code,
at the same time.
not
I'm the like hardware electrical sort of guy.
Is
I
there
do
an
both.
analogy in
Do
code? How do we turn this into software?
Can you
Anyway,
repeat that to me in JavaScript, please?
It's like a recursive function.
let's return back to this though. So they're taking their welder and they're welding these batteries together. A welder is a very low voltage but super high current because you have to push a bunch of current into a metal to melt it together. And it
spot welder.
sparks a little bit. Oh man, terrifying. But as long as all of your contacts are correct and not shorted, you don't have an issue with the spark. So there was just a whole ton of freaking out pointlessly. Oh man, take my batteries, weld. Oh my god, a spark.
Hold on.
Quick, throw it in the bucket of sand. Oh my god, it's gonna
Wait,
catch
wait.
fire.
So as somebody who knows absolutely nothing about this whole escapade, that's what everyone was concerned about, is somebody spot welding a battery?
That's what he freaked out at.
And the batteries weren't punctured. It was just a little bit of sparks.
No,
from the
it was a
spot
little
welder.
bit of spark from a spot welder.
Have they ever ordered a battery from a Chinese manufacturer that literally does this in a factory? They spot weld contacts on the batteries?
I mean, yeah, like most batteries are spot welded.
Right.
in
Because
just
you'd
your
never
laptop or
solder
whatever.
on a battery
You'd never
because that's a lot of heat.
I do it.
Don't do it.
I do it.
Don't do it.
I do it.
I've seen
Disclaimer,
Ian do it,
don't
and when
do
he
it.
says he
Build a
does it,
spot
the
welder out
amount
of a
of
microwave.
heat he does it. He literally does it like boop. Like
I
he
mean, I'm
barely
good at
touches
soldering,
it, so
yeah,
he
right.
does it correctly.
I mean, there's a reason
You
it's called
do it
spot
correctly.
welding. I mean,
Yeah.
very, very short burst of energy in the battery.
I see it as
I
fine.
should send you the
Granted,
video. I found
Granted.
a video of
The
someone making a
batteries
spot
that I'm
welder.
soldering are old, like used
Yeah.
cells that have been ripped out of old laptop batteries. The
Okay.
risk on those is significantly lower than like a stock brand new battery capable of discharging 20 amps. It's like a 1 or maybe half amp capable battery. And
already
so,
dead,
If
effectively.
you short it, it's not going to catch fire. I've shorted them before. Whatever.
Just
Maybe
remember,
it heats up a little, but
heat
that's
kills
about
the
it.
battery. That's it. Just heat.
Just heat. Yeah,
should
definitely
do-
not a short.
Well,
There
heat
is a
or
video.
also stabbing. Stabbing also.
Stabbing also
that
kills
depends.
batteries.
An 18650 cell's wrapped in steel.
Next time we go to the shooting range, we should shoot one to see what happens.
All right. But there's just a lot of needless freaking out, and I'll build on that. These cells can catch fire, but only if they're fully charged. I watched a guy take a fully charged battery like this and slice it in half with a knife, and the fully charged one catches fire.
Was it actually cake?
Yes, it was cake. Definitely. A nice lithium cake, my favorite. I just love lithium cake. And then he took another at storage voltage, which is the nominal voltage of the cell. 3.7 volts per cell. Multiply that by however many cells. This is a 6-cell pack, so whatever 3.7 times 6 is.
Prime numbers.
Sliced that one in half with a knife. Guess what smoked a little but didn't catch fire? The battery.
That's the
And
point of
lithium-
storage voltage.
Yes, and lithium polymer batteries are significantly more volatile than 18650 cells. Guess whose batteries were at storage voltage? That 3.7 volt thing. Linus's batteries. So even if he did short them, it wouldn't have been nearly as big of an issue.
Yeah, it's also especially a big issue if you have them like conjoined in a package in a very tight area.
Yeah, right.
you
If
know?
they're all super close together, because then the heat from one like heats up the rest, and then
Yeah.
it slowly turns into a reaction that is just fueling itself.
Yeah, but
because
his
the
was-
batteries are energy, right? You're just
Right.
taking all that energy and removing it out into the world, so it becomes just a big inferno. But he's got like 20 batteries and a super low voltage. I'd assume they're relatively low current cells. I don't know. They look like Panasonic cells. They were green, so.
Those are the good ones.
If they're the good ones, 10 amp capable, but still nowhere near as much as that. So
Yeah, but I don't know how much a red camera uses, but like
I'd assume it's relatively a lot.
yeah, it's for, relative
it's
for a
a-
camera. It's gonna be
For a camera, it's a lot, yeah. Because
but it's probably a slow trick.
What's a red camera?
Is a cinema camera. It's
a-
like what
Oh,
movies
okay.
use. Yeah.
yeah, it's the really powerful.
They're
cinema cameras.
digital still, but they like use SSDs as their storage medium because of how
Yeah,
much
right.
data they're taking in and moving around.
Yeah, right.
Digital film, basically.
Yeah.
I suppose.
Well, they're just desktop SSD. Oh man, you want to go on that rant about Red over like selling their stuff?
The red
yes,
camera.
eventually.
The red camera
Eventually.
takes about 4.2 amps.
Oh wow,
That's
yeah.
a lot for a camera.
So you, but the red camera pack, if I recall correctly, was like 12 batteries in series.
I mean, that it makes sense.
So, or sorry, not series, parallel. So you have all the current you could ever need, and then
Sure.
there's a small like amount of.
Well,
voltage
maybe it
for
has
voltage
peak current.
boosting
Like
and whatever.
occasionally it peaks.
I mean,
and it
yeah,
uses
sure.
that.
There's definitely going to be peak current and
It's
some
possible.
other stuff in
I
there.
doubt if it's
but you
possible.
know, it's not like you're expecting 100 amps out of your battery for your camera.
Sure.
But no, so Linus also in the other half of that video, he ranted about how
That I agree with.
product developers
Yes.
are developing these products to not be repairable, either because they want to make profit or because they don't want to put in the extra engineering time to make
Or
the product
gross
repairable.
negligence. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
There are
and like
certain-
that's some, and that's
We should talk about what it actually is, though. It's a BMS or battery management system. The job of a battery management system is to keep your batteries relatively safe. These don't have it. It's just cells with some wires on it.
So what's this?
This is a balance lead.
That's so that way
This connects to the charger, and the charger will manually, or the charger will
The
automatically
charger will become the
change-
BMS in that.
Yeah,
scenario.
right. The charger becomes the BMS, and it re-levels all those cells.
There's not a protection circuit in here?
no, there is not a protection.
Not built in.
circuit.
that is a
This
battery with wires
That is a
soldered to
battery
it.
with
That is
wires
just
soldered
mad
to it.
foolish, man.
It's not. It's
they're
great.
like they're like pennies,
You
aren't
can
they?
get a ton of energy out of these.
Well, of course
because
you
we
can,
need
'cause
100
there's no
watts.
protection,
Your
right?
battery management system cannot take 100 watts, and it has to be as light as possible because it's flying a quadcopter.
Sorry, are we saying that's where the gross negligence is?
No.
The gross negligence.
Okay, maybe,
is,
but I've thrown these. I've crashed these. I've like dropped 50 feet up onto like stones and rocks and haven't caught one on fire.
Survivorship
The
bias.
only time I have caught one,
survivorship bias.
the only time I've caught one of these on fire was when I directly shorted the two leads together in a quadcopter. It was really funny, actually. It's like, hey man, take a look at this. Oh, I know, it was a friend who did that. Even I haven't done it.
Yet.
But a friend was like, hey man, does this smell funny? Brings the quadcopter close to my face, plugs in the battery, and it like bursts into flames practically. Not actual flames, just a bunch of smoke.
Did you just see every single warning on here and then like consider that a checklist of things you can do? I mean, the third sentence says not to subject it to any strong impacts.
I mean, we left the impacted battery where it was, as much as I hate to
They're
say it,
literally
because
mounted
it's a
to
huge fire hazard.
quadcopters. Like they're mounted
Yeah, no,
to
I-
vehicles that
from
fly
high up,
120 miles an hour.
Lose radio, whatever. Quadcopter falls out of the sky, lands on the battery on stones on a railroad, and just like it gets all mangled up, but it never caught fire. or
Quads are
anything.
cool, but I do not have the skill to fly one.
It's not that hard. Play with it in a simulator. But if we jump back on a BMS, there are certain BMSs where they require a constant power to stay on, or they have some specialty firmware or whatever on it, and that firmware is just loaded so that it dies or gets deleted if you fully unplug the battery and turn off all the power to it. So if you remove the cells, the power is cut to the BMS, and then you try to resolder brand new cells. Even though they're new cells, the BMS has no clue what it's
There's
doing.
no
and
firmware
just
left.
Won't charge the cells.
Which
And
is-
so that's either gross negligence, or perhaps they did it on purpose so that you couldn't resell the cell, or so that you couldn't
Isn't
resell
RAM more
the battery.
expensive than Flash? For the most part.
I would say yes.
So why on earth would they use RAM? Because it's
On
more
purpose?
expensive anyway. And I guess on purpose. That's the only reason they would use it.
I think it's one of those like
That's what I'm
cover
trying
your
to
ass
say.
things. Like they try to just remove themselves from the situation and then complain if anyone else modifies their system that, well,
I think it could also be something like that, like, oh man,
Voided the
Oh
warranty.
yeah, voided
some legality
warranty,
stuff.
or oh my god, all the fear mongering. Oh my god, it's dangerous. You can't work on your electric car. There's batteries in there. What if they catch on fire?
I mean, wasn't that the same thing Apple said about the whole like switching out parts in your phone? Like,
Yeah,
they were just like,
it-
well, you know,
It drives me
it could
insane.
steal your data.
I can take a phone and plunge a knife through it, fully kill the battery, whatever. Yeah, sure, it'll be a relatively small fire. It could like slightly damage you, but like that's with me literally taking a knife and driving it through a phone.
Yeah,
I mean,
but
obviously
so-
there's the
but
issue with
one of the-
sensitive notes and stuff.
But one of the problems, I guess, that some people I think have with it is, let's say you did do that, right? Were irresponsible. You
Sure.
drove a knife through a phone and it started to catch fire. An initial random person's thought would be, let's throw water on this, right? And meanwhile, this fire is on this table, right? You're getting
Sure.
water, you throw water on it, and it doesn't go out, and then the table catches fire. Now the table is on fire, and
Well, you can put out the table, but yeah, I mean, a lithium fire is generally self-sustaining until
Yeah,
the
and I
battery
think
runs
lithium.
out.
So
you can put it out chemically, I think.
Yes,
okay,
you
if
can
your
also
phone
snuff it
battery
out.
explodes and it goes into thermonuclear meltdown, just put it in rice. Everything will be fine. Enough rice will solve all your problems.
no, so
That's actually correct, though. If you cover it in sand, you're good.
And you get a nice,
the
tasty
only
snack
way to
afterwards.
put it out is to suffocate it. Is effectively what
is
they're saying.
effectively to suffocate.
Yeah.
Right?
So speaking
Fuel-
of,
Disclaimer, don't
although
put it in rice.
certain cells are self-oxidizing, so even then, it'll
yeah.
still
So
burn
so
like a
related
thermite.
to battery fires, there is currently a cargo ship like sitting in the Atlantic Ocean that's full of electric cars that's on fire right now.
Oh, really? I
I
didn't
didn't
know
know
that.
that.
Yes, there's
Yeah.
an entire cargo ship full of brand new off the factory electric cars, which was Porsche and Mercedes-Benz cars. So expensive ass cars that's just on fire, and they evacuated the whole crew, and they can't do it. They just have to wait until the ship sinks.
I know
they
that
can't do anything about it.
I know that Chevy had some issues with the Bolt and LG's cells where they were just spontaneously catching fire. I think it was the Bolt, or was it something else? I don't know. Some car manufacturer making a like tiny little economy car or whatever, electric, just had huge issues. Where a
It was
whole ton of them
Chevy.
caught fire.
Chevy was using cheap cells in their car.
They were
to cut
using, I
costs.
thought they were using LG HG2s.
Like Ultra Fire, just
Like
sells from
oh my God.
the Chinese market.
Can I jump on that? Can I jump on that? If you buy 18650 cells, don't buy them from Amazon.
Yeah, don't buy it from
Any-
Wish.
Nah, even Amazon. Any 18650 cell that you buy from Amazon is most likely a scam.
If-
I believe the maximum capacity for an 18650 cell is right now is approximately 3,400 milliamp hours. That's the highest I've ever seen. But there are so many companies just, here's our 8,000 milliamp hour cell, our
9,900.
9,000 milliamp
Right.
hour cell, our 10,000 milliamp hour cell. It's always a scam.
Yeah.
And it's always going to be like 250 milliamp hour. It's like nothing.
2 terabyte USB 3.0 flash drive.
Yeah, right.
$2.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. But even then, they're like, okay, yeah, maybe that's sort of a legit price or whatever. Like $6 a cell is what you should expect to pay for
Sure.
a good quality cell.
Yeah.
But if you're buying 18650 cells, buy them from a good brand.
Yes.
Sony, LG.
Panasonic.
Well, you can't buy them
Panasonic.
directly from the manufacturer, right?
You can't,
That's
unfortunately.
unfortunately
so you have to.
they fake the labels
they
a lot
fake
too.
the
That's something you
labels
got to
a
be
lot,
aware of.
too.
You have to get a good supplier. I think
vape
IMRbatteries.com.
shops. Yeah,
has
or your local vape shop if you've got one.
Oh yeah, the
that should
vape
sell
shop. That's the
quality.
whole meme. That's where Linus got his cells from.
Yeah,
It's
that's
a
correct.
Vape shop.
Because they should have quality
They
like
sell the
Panasonic
VTC
cells.
5As and 6s.
VTC6 is my favorite cell. It's 3 amp hour, 15 amp capable cell.
I was actually recently on websites looking for 18650 cells, and it's crazy how many of the websites on their website they say this is not designed to be used with the
don't
vape
use
pen.
it in a vape.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was like,
That's just
wow,
again, they're covering their asses.
just
Because they know
covering their
people are gonna have
asses
stuff
because they know
blowing
people
up
are
on the
gonna do it.
subway, and then ultimately, what was the fault? It was the battery. Where'd the battery come from? It's always just a blame game in the U.S. at least.
Unfortunately, that is true. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know.
Basically, yes, Linus is right. Batteries are dangerous, but he was being dramatic.
He was definitely being dramatic.
yeah.
And I sort of disagree with no one should ever replace the batteries in there, whatever.
Yeah, that's
I
true.
think
No, that's the whole thing of right to repair is being able to like continue
yeah, right.
using
That is
your
the
electronics.
thing of right to repair. The ability to repair whatever, however, no matter if it's dangerous or whatever. Louis Rossmann recently did or covered a story
I hope
where,
Louis Rossmann roasts Linus. By the
where
way,
a
for this.
blind man, right, had this eye implant thing to give him, I don't know, 60
Laser
pixels or
vision.
whatever. Where
Better than not-
They're like
better-
shocking the electric nerve or whatever. Well, the company supporting this goes bankrupt, and
Rip.
so his thing breaks, and he needs to go and find a replacement. And someone across the sea or whatever has like a replacement unit for him. And this blind man fixes his own eye. And you're gonna sit here and tell me that I'm not allowed to repair my devices or whatever because it's dangerous. But this guy just fixed his
This guy
own
pulled a
fucking eyeball.
This guy pulled a cyberpunk and replaced his eyeball.
Exactly.
We truly do live in a society.
insane, right? Oh man, you're not allowed to fix your eyeball. Oh, it could be dangerous. Oh man, but I don't know, man.
The whole meme of Sony. Sony was actually really good about right to repair with at least the PlayStation. You were allowed to like replace the hard drive and replace the fans. And
That's
do all
not
that stuff
enough.
with
I
it.
want component level repair. Schematics or die.
Yeah, I
mean-
miss those days, huh? You can't ever get a
When
service
you'd
manual
buy
for
a
your
washing
microwave
machine
anymore.
or whatever that had the schematics inside of it, or old cameras that had the schematics.
I had to
Give me the
repair my
schematics.
oven at my old house. It was probably from the 70s.
I mean,
it was
it's
original.
usually just like, a blown capacitor, a bad resistor,
Oh,
whatever.
There weren't even electronics in this thing. It
Yeah,
was a mechanical
exactly.
timer, but the damn buzzer was broken, and so it would
Easy.
always go off if you like dinged it. I opened up the oven, and not only was it disgusting in there, but
I
I
bet.
saw a little paper envelope that had been baked well over the years, and there were full schematics of every single wiring diagram for the clock, for the timers, for everything in the oven, and I couldn't believe it. I was like, really?
It's great, yeah.
Everything
Old
I need to
stuff
know
is
right here
awesome.
on paper.
Yes.
Why can't we do that anymore? Come on,
Every-
PDF, flash
because
drive.
everyone's terrified and scared and
Don't even, not even
fear-mongering
need
and
a
whatever.
flash
I
drive.
don't
Just
know.
put it on your fucking company website. Like
Put
it's
a
not
QR
that
code
hard.
in the oven, right? I don't know.
Yeah.
Everyone's got a
whatever.
phone.
Yeah,
Just
if-
scan the QR code on the oven, and boom! I got the schematics on my phone.
But if I
Or-
show you guys
so the
how to
thing
make my
is-
product, then you guys could make my product.
That's a good point. I think
China
ultimately
doesn't give a
that's
shit.
what-
They're gonna clone it anyway.
That's also a good point.
Yeah, that's a good point as well. Or
So, then it
whatever.
doesn't matter.
Put
Release it all for
inside-
free.
Or whatever. Put it inside the oven. Then only those who own the oven can fix it or whatever.
Okay,
I
web
don't know.
crawlers, but yeah.
Yeah.
It's
So
complicated.
let's jump on the Valve Steam Deck.
Wait,
thing,
real
man.
quick. One last thing
But yeah,
about the
going to
batteries.
for repair.
Is I am currently for my personal projects using 18650 cells or looking to get source
They're
18650
great. I
cells.
love them. Yeah.
And they're super cool. But I'm kind of excited for Tesla's new Gigafactory to make his new type of cells. I think they're called
They're
like
basically just
2170
correct.
cells.
21700s have been around for ages, man. They never
Yep.
really caught on. It's just a large 18650
Yeah, it's
cell.
just the size.
Some of the Tesla stuff was even bullshit there as well, where it's like, oh man, we doubled the energy capacity by doubling the size of the battery. Whoa!
I guess if you didn't already know, I'm imagining you already looked it up by now. If you didn't know, it's just the diameter measurement is 18, and then the length of the battery is 650 in millimeters, so 18 millimeter diameter.
65.0 millimeter.
60. Sorry,
Yeah, it's 18 millimeters. It's a cylinder.
65
18 millimeters in
right,
diameter.
6.5
65
centimeters.
millimeters tall. 21700 is 21
Just a
millimeters
bigger
in
battery.
diameter. 770 millimeters.
Also, I just found out on LinkedIn that the R, like when you have an IMR, the I is the lithium ion, the M is the manganese, and then the R just means it's a round cell. I never knew that. That's
I didn't actually know that
because they have
either,
like ICR, ISR, all those are just like ways to describe the
Interesting.
chemistry, but the R just
That's
means
awesome.
it's round. I had no idea.
Before we switch over to our next topic, there's one. I have a question for you, engineers, as to why.
Yep.
So, like, you know how space efficiency is a big thing.
Yeah.
Why are they round? Why aren't they square? You can
The
get more
round cells are
density
a
in
little
them.
easier to manufacture.
You don't really need to pack batteries. I mean, it's
Yes,
you're
you
right.
do. In an electric car, you do.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah,
but
you
you can
do
pack them in a
in a
hex
car.
pattern, and a square cell is going to be more difficult because you have to layer everything in a square cell versus a round cell. You just wrap it
coil
over and
it.
over and you
There
coil
is
it.
some
and it's easier
convenience
to coil.
to having like infinite symmetry
Yeah,
rotationally.
exactly.
Like I guess all batteries for a long time have been like that. I mean, AA's. What was the first even like
Yeah, because I
popular
think they're
consumer
all
battery?
sort of coiled. Well, no, actually.
They are. That is, yeah.
Are
Really
alkaline
convenient.
batteries coiled or no? I think it's just.
Yes, they are. They have the
Okay.
different electrolyte chemistry, but in essence, it's all just like a capacitor. I guess it's the same reason that
Yeah,
electrolytic
and
capacitors
it's-
are around like that.
Right,
Or
exactly, and it's sort of
square and
similar with
wrapped
the
in the same way.
18650 cell.
Yeah,
I mean,
huh.
there are definitely comparisons between an 18650 cell and a capacitor. You know,
I guess yes, square batteries would be like impossible because even if you started,
I
with
mean,
the
there's a
square
square
rod in
battery
the
right
middle-
there.
Well, yeah, because it's different cells.
You're right. Yeah,
But they're not
I'm
efficiently.
saying,
They're-
why don't we
they're
just
not
take
round
an
cells, though. They're flat
18650?
cells.
Why don't we just take an
They're pouches,
18650,
right?
make it square, make it a cube or like a
Because
rectangular
it's
prism,
almost in.
and then somehow increase the density so that way that little bit of extra space can be used for that little bit of extra energy. And like over the course of an entire car, that's going to be a significant energy density increase, is what I'm saying.
But if you had to make the battery square, the only way to do that would be to add material to make it square, which would make your packing even worse.
Okay, so the 18
And more expensive.
No, the 18650. Yes, the 18650 cells are in steel tubes, right? If you're making a battery, it has to be in a tinfoil like enclosure, right? You can easily stab or puncture these with, a toothpick, maybe not a toothpick, but
A knife.
Don't run over
or
a toothpick,
some
dude.
relatively, small thing. You're gonna be hard pressed to like easily puncture a hole in an 18650 cell. So the steel case makes up a part of the car's structural integrity, right? If you take apart a Tesla, the bottom part is batteries, and that big battery pack is a large portion of the structure of the frame of the car. So if you were to make them square, right? You get some losses because it's a square. Circle is a better
It is a
shape.
better load. It
It's
takes
a better,
load better.
Yeah, it's a better shape for the load. Versus if you make it a square, good luck packing your stuff into a square extrusion.
I never thought about
or,
how
you
impossible
know,
it would be to make a square battery.
You're not. How are you gonna layer your layers inside of a steel tube of an extrusion or something?
It's definitely possible, in my opinion.
It's possible, but it's
inefficient.
not practical.
I think it'd be very impractical.
Okay, I could probably argue that statement, but I'm gonna leave it be for now.
All right, we'll leave it for now.
Because the
Table
other
that.
thing to answer Chandler's question is there's also a matter of heat dissipation and transfer.
Sure.
So when you have a couple of cylindrical tubes that are in a 2D array, the space in between the tubes acts as a way to take heat out of the system.
Right, and you can run your coolant or something through that. Yeah.
Something to be said.
Well,
for
yeah,
that.
and I think Teslas are just air cooled. They don't actually have
No,
any.
they're liquid cooled.
Are they liquid cooled?
That is correct.
Oh, I didn't know that. Yeah, but that makes sense. I think that does answer my question a little. So, speaking of right to repair, as of a few minutes ago,
Steamdeck.
the Steamdeck
Deck.
is doing a great job at
Well, it's
doing
Valve,
right to
but yeah.
repair. It's doing well compared to everyone else.
Everyone else. Yeah, probably.
Compared
Compared to a lot of others, like anyone else in the tech
to,
industry,
I don't
let's
know,
be real.
Nintendo.
Yeah.
Yeah, low hanging fruit.
So, for anyone who's not in the know, Valve recently partnered with Ifixit to provide replacement parts for the Valve Index and the Steamdeck,
Yeah,
which is a huge win for anyone in this space. Having the ability to go to Ifixit, you're going to get high quality, detailed teardown guides, how to properly open your Steam Deck, whatever, how to properly open your Valve Index, how to replace these components. Here's a source for the components. Here are all the tools to do it safely and correctly. And here's a really well-written, high-quality guide with great photos on how to do it without damaging anything. And it's awesome for the
Even
average
video
That being
walkthroughs.
said, at the beginning of their guides, they still say don't do this at home, but then they release the guides anyway.
I think that's, again, a legality thing.
Lame cover
or
your ass
lame
statement.
cover your ass statement. But still, I own an iFixit toolkit.
Sadly,
Great
the lawyers
toolkit.
had to say that.
I love it, yeah. But yeah, I don't know.
But I love
just
the-
having the ability. Oh man, there's broken joystick, whatever. They're all, a lot of parts are consumable. Batteries are consumable. Joysticks are technically consumable. In a way, buttons are consumable, but to a much lower degree.
I imagine there's going to be a lot of screens replaced. That's probably the number one
Yes,
repair.
exactly. And so having the ability to go out and just purchase the screen reduces e-waste, right? And it
Saves the money.
saves you money. And maybe you learn a new skill, right?
Maybe.
Learning a new skill is always an awesome thing. So having the skill to open up a basic electronic device and replace the battery. I mean, just about anyone can open up a modern laptop and generally replace the battery.
And almost put it back together.
They're usually super simple. It's just a connector. You pop open the bottom plate of the laptop, disconnect the battery from the motherboard, and pop out some screws. Sometimes they're glued in, and that's a pain in the ass all the time. And no one uses pull tabs, except Apple, which is really funny. Apple is like the one phone manufacturer that uses those like pull tabs. It's like a command strip underneath the battery. No one else does, not even like Google or anything, which drives me insane constantly. But that's a story for another time. perhaps.
Hostile design. They don't want you to repair it.
Yeah, exactly.
But
Yeah,
one really cool thing about
so-
having these resources available to you is you can learn in a better environment when you go to do this, right? Because as of right now, there are people who will learn how to take apart your phone and replace a screen, for example.
Yeah.
But in order to do that, what they do is they just go on YouTube and look at a bunch of sketchy YouTube videos made by creators pretty similar to us, and where we put out stuff, but
There are
not-
certainly very good creators who make
Yeah, yeah.
very well-produced, high-quality educational
But not for
content.
But how
Every
can you
single-
tell without the dislike button?
I
Alright,
know.
Sorry.
Yeah. But
no,
yeah.
but yeah. So
Another thing is that it gives
The
Valve
Steam-
more profit.
it does
right?
give Valve more profit. I remember when I watched the teardown video of the Steam Deck, I think they engineered it with this in mind. I don't think
They
it was
did,
an
yeah.
after effect. I think they wanted this to be a right
so much stuff
It
is connected by ribbon
so packed tight. Like it is so much technology in this tiny box, but they did it in such a way that you can take it apart with nothing more than a screwdriver in like an hour.
Yeah, right.
It's a long time.
It's really
Okay,
not
but-
that
but
bad.
still, I mean, yeah,
that's like for
it
your
makes
average
sense.
consumer
Yeah,
with a
makes
screwdriver, right?
sense.
I mean, how long do you think it'd take me or any of you guys to
We
take
could
a
probably
Steam
rip
Deck
one apart in 10
We could probably
minutes.
have one apart in
do you
10,
have to
15,
put it back
20 minutes.
together?
No.
Yeah, and then that's another thing. So when I wish I would have known this before I'd ordered my Steam Deck. So when I went out of my way when I pre-ordered my Steam Deck, I reserved the 256 gigabyte model. Okay, and the reason why is because I knew it came with an NVMe SSD. I ordered that one with the intention of replacing the SSD the second I got it.
I think it's really interesting though, because like from the get-go, they were relatively transparent that the 64 gig version was just in an M.2 form factor.
Yeah, I didn't know that because I ordered it the day they announced it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Like literally, I was sitting on the Steam page hitting the refresh button over and over and over and over and over again until I could actually hit their order button.
And even with that, I think you're probably not getting your Steam Deck till Q2? Question mark.
I'm not getting my Steam Deck till probably August.
I was gonna say
That's
that soon,
ridiculous.
Q2.
That's crazy.
Seems about right.
And I think Kyle, you're in the same problem, and you have the 512 gig model.
Yes, but unfortunately for me, I hit refresh a bunch of times, and I finally got onto the page, and then
it refreshed or I don't know.
I had a credit card issue.
Oh,
that I was
no.
like,
Hey, I had a credit card issue. I recently snapped my credit card in half.
Yep,
Whoops.
that's an issue.
I mean, people still don't have the PlayStation 5. When
I
did
don't
that
have the
even come
PlayStation.
out?
I've been trying to buy a
Weird.
PlayStation 5 since it came out.
You what?
I've been trying to buy a PlayStation 5 since it came out.
Why?
Oh.
Why? Because I want a
It's new
PlayStation 5.
technology.
I'm sorry. I thought
PlayStation exclusives.
I'm sorry. I thought I heard. I haven't tried my PlayStation 5 till it came out. So you
Oh,
just
that's
had a
hilarious.
PS5 still in
Yeah,
box.
it's just in
and
box,
or
yeah.
something. Yeah, right.
Hey,
New
it's
in
worth
box.
a
haven't
hell of a
touched.
premium over MSRP if you sell one.
That's my
No.
problem. Is I told myself I'll only buy a PS5 if I can get it at MSRP.
I'll only
And I
buy
have
a
not
GPU
found-
if I can get it at MSRP.
That's how what I said too, and I got one. I just was super lucky in that sense. But
Yeah.
Well, you bought a friggin' GPU.
You bought a
no
GPU
one
that nobody
wants.
can afford at MSRP.
Yeah.
fair.
Yeah.
fair.
$1,200 is a bit steep, buddy.
Yes.
More than my computer's worth.
All
I use it
right.
regularly.
So one of the here, I want to find one of the. Oh, so I wanted to talk.
there
Speaking of
anything else?
GPUs,
The
I don't-
APU in the Steam Deck. No.
no. Well, I mean, the Steam Deck is. We already talked about it once before. I'm still very hyped.
Yeah, I'm not sure there's anything else that really.
There's really not
fits
anything to talk
super
about.
well.
It's cool. I can't wait to get my hands on one and try it out. Realistically,
I
Kyle,
can't wait
like,
to repair one. Yeah,
I
don't
can't
know.
wait until I cannot play it because I don't have time. But
I
like,
think-
Yeah, that's it. I just had one other interesting question. I wonder what the screen replacements are going to look like on the Steam Deck.
they
right?
haven't actually. That's the one video they haven't released yet. They haven't released a
No.
screen replacement one.
Are they gonna sell screen replacements? Are you gonna be able to buy the low end screen or the high end screen? Right?
Well, there's
'Cause
only
two
two-
screens.
Well,
yeah, one
okay,
of them's
so
got
yeah.
an anti-glare screen and the other doesn't. So can you buy like the low end model and put the anti-glare screen on it?
Isn't that just a
Or-
piece of
I don't
glass in
know.
front of it?
I don't think so.
not- it's not
It sort of
active
depends on
anti-glare,
how
is
the
it?
device is
Yeah,
assembled.
we
if
don't
we're being
know.
totally
All right.
honest. It's
Yeah,
sort of hard
but
to know.
yeah, so
but
the-
it's still a valid question, right?
Sure.
The
Yeah.
$400 model and the $530 model, which I bought the 530 model, don't have the anti-glare screen. They just have a normal run-of-the-mill 720p 7-inch screen.
Correct.
While the 512 gigabyte, the $650 model, have the upgraded anti-glare coating on the screen. Or I think it's laser etched glass is what it is.
Yeah, something
Fancy.
like that. I don't
And
know exactly
according
what it is.
to LinusTechTips, he said if he were the one paying for his Steam Deck, he would not have paid the extra for the anti-glare. He said it's
Okay.
not that noticeable, like that much of a difference.
Interesting.
Or it's not worth the $130, $120 premium or whatever. Because like, yeah, and I'm going to be able to replace the SSD. So like, honestly, if I were you and you were going to go buy a Steam Deck, buy the cheapest model and just upgrade it. Every single model has the same SoC. Every single model has the same amount of RAM. Every single model has the same everything except for the storage, the included accessories, which all of them come with a case, by the way, which is like the only a case and a charger, which is the only.
I think only the
accessories you
top model
need.
comes with the case.
No, they all come with cases.
I
It's
think
just,
the top model comes with a special case.
Yeah, the
It's
top
got
model
some
comes with a special
embroidery or
case.
something on it.
all of them come with a case. But I would just buy if I could go back again, I would just order the $400 model and just replace the SSD. I would save the $130 ish.
Yeah, and then just buy a bigger SSD.
Well, you
right?
can get Kioxia just announced they're doing 2 terabyte 2230 SSDs.
Gee, I wonder why.
Yeah, and they advertise it's going to be compatible with the Steam Deck.
Gee, I wonder why.
Speaking of like the replacement parts, do you think that you'll use any of these replacement parts for personal projects? Like if you need a joystick for something, you
That's
totally
an
could just
interesting one.
pull
But it's
from
gonna
the
be
Steam Deck.
it's gonna be a joystick on the daughter board, which
Yeah.
If you can interface with it though, like figure out how to interface with the daughter
it's,
board.
it's just an analog device. Joysticks
Yeah.
are just 2 potentials.
Yeah, but I think it's a ribbon cable. Is that how it connects?
Easy enough. I've soldered FPC cables. Video on the thing. It's not up yet. We'll figure it out. The PlayStation USB Type C on your PS4 controller.
Nice.
I really butchered that.
It's okay. We're learning.
But so I want to transition. Speaking of
Speaking of GPU,
no. Wait, let's real quick. I have one more quick 5-minute topic related to the Steam Deck. So apparently, are you guys familiar? Who here is into emulation?
I am.
Okay, Kyle.
A little bit, not a whole ton.
A little bit,
I
not
love
a whole ton. And I
emulation.
assume
Less than I'd
you don't
wanna
care
be.
enough.
I am allowed to say that I have played
Don't sue me, Nintendo.
Game Boy games digitally in a ROM because I had a physical copy, and that's legally allowed.
Boop, boop.
No, it's not. You're still gonna get sued. Nintendo's coming.
Oh
for you.
no, Nintendo!
They're gonna bust down your door.
The Dolphin Emu project.
Which is a way to
Yes.
emulate GameCube games for
Got
those
a
who don't
Steam
know.
Deck.
And Wii.
Valve
And Wii.
sent them a dev kit.
This is
right.
beautiful. I like this.
So that way they could validate that their emulator works well and is optimized for the Steam Deck. But Steam, I think Valve sent them one, and then they weren't allowed to talk about it because technically it's piracy, but it's not. It's
You just have to buy a physical copy of the games, and
Yeah, do
then
they
you're
even
allowed to have a
sell-
digital copy as a backup
Do
according
they-
to some outdated laws.
do they even? Yeah, right. Do they even sell new Wii games anymore?
do
Like,
not.
can you still buy them? All right, whatever. At that
What?
point, piracy is perfectly valid in my opinion.
Oh, piracy
If you
against
cannot
Nintendo
legally
is
acquire
fine.
something anymore, piracy's fine.
Yeah, they don't sell it. That's
yeah,
I
no,
don't know. They
Nintendo.
don't sell it. I
Nintendo
want
wants
it.
you to buy the remastered version on the next generation of console.
That's
No.
nice. My remastered Pokemon GameCube.
They're doing a
game or whatever. I
remastered
don't know.
Wii Sports called Switch Sports.
Thanks.
What?
I hate it.
When are they going to remaster Paper Mario?
Yeah, right. Come on, man.
I've been asking for it every generation. So it's such a good game.
No, you gotta buy the new one because they have a new one in every generation.
Yeah, but a new game, but not the old game. I can't play the old game.
Yeah.
They haven't remastered it.
I don't know.
They don't care about
I probably
the
spent more
consumer.
time setting up emulators than playing emulators.
It sort of
with
does feel
players.
that way, don't they? They've shut
Yeah.
down so many tournaments
yeah.
and a whole bunch of
It's
stuff.
so
and
obvious.
just I don't
Nintendo
know,
is
man.
just really their anti-piracy and IP protection is one of the most, if not the most aggressive in the industry.
It's really weird though. I don't know.
Well, it's
think
because
it's just something
in the old
cultural,
days,
isn't
it's
Ooh, that's why we should have Rob on. We should have Rob do an episode on emulation.
That would actually be a really good one. Yeah. Yeah.
the one
software piracy.
I'll
like,
add it to the list.
I'll have to ping him about it because he asked me the other day do you want me on the podcast again? I'll do more legal research. I actually really
Yeah.
enjoyed that. I'm like, okay. No, but so I'll add it to the list. Kyle, did you have any comments or concerns about this? I know you're really
I
into
was just going to explain
emulation.
Nintendo's framing behind why they do what they do. It
Okay,
kinda sucks.
what is their framing?
The
Lay it
framing
on
is
me,
that
Slim.
they've invested all this, all these assets in order to make these iconic characters that they can make money off of those iconic characters, right? So if you see a Zelda game, it'll be that quality, or you'll know it'll be, what goes behind
Sure.
that. So then the original thought was, if we have other people profiting off of our work, they shouldn't quote unquote deserve that, and as a result, they would slam them for stuff. But that was the older way of thinking. The newer way of thinking is like, hey, if other people are playing this game and people see that this is really fun that you're playing this game, more people are probably gonna buy this game.
Yeah,
It's
right.
like free advertising.
When
Wider-
have they
wider
adopted that
outreach
second
versus-
strategy? Have they?
I don't think they have.
I'm under the impression
I'm
they
saying
certainly
that's
have.
a
You're
general
saying
phrase
those are the two ways of looking at it.
Yeah,
Oh, I
exactly.
see. And they
I'm sure
have
there's
not
more, but
done
yeah,
the
in
second
general,
strategy
yeah.
ever.
in general. Because,
Right.
for example, there was the case of Super Smash Brothers.
Oh, yes, I'm
for
very
the
familiar.
For the Wii.
Mm-hmm.
So Super Smash Brothers Brawl. They had their special game mode called Subspace Emissary. Have you guys ever played that?
No, I've
I
not.
played the
Okay.
game, but I have no idea the game mode.
So they
I
spent
was
a
not very
ton
into it.
of time doing something that they're not. Apparently, it took them a ton of time to make a bunch of really, really cool cutscenes for their single player campaign. And they found it extremely devastating that they spent all this time into making these cutscenes.
And then no one played
And then
it.
people, instead of buying the game and experiencing those cutscenes, just watch YouTube videos of those cutscenes that they got for free. And so instead of, paying for this and experiencing the content, they just got the content for free and then didn't pay. And so they're like, this is costing us money. Copyright strike you, and we're just not going to make cutscenes anymore in our video games for Smash Brothers.
That's I understand the reasoning there, but that's still a pretty
I know.
frown-worthy sentiment. I have no other comments really.
I know it's sort of a Japanese thing anyway, right? They're generally more, I don't know, reserved.
More
and
protective
more
of their
protective.
IPs, yeah.
Yeah, right.
Sony's also
I mean,
a
I
little
know
bit
that
aggressive,
Japan,
but not as much.
I know Japan doesn't have fair use. So if you
Oh,
attempt
they don't
to
have
pull-
fair use law at all?
No, they do not. So if you attempt to fair use an anime or something, the studio behind it, if they're a Japanese studio, they
Will
can
sue the
strike-
piss out of you.
Yeah, they can just strike you down for whatever reason. There is no fair use. You can't use whatever clip from an anime as a fair use thing. That's theirs, and they're gonna take it. Well, some of them. It just depends on the studio.
It's so hard though, because like, what do you consider fair use?
Well,
I mean,
fair
it's
use.
a
that's-
3-second
I guess
clip from an anime as like a point of highlight or whatever.
that could be
or
one
like
of
a
Rob's topics
funny
again.
meme or something.
I guess
it's 3
Fair
seconds.
use is a massive
right?
legal gray area, just like
It
like
really
software
is.
piracy and
Well, all the laws
archival.
are so outdated too. I mean, I feel like just with all the digital media there's still people who are under the impression that there's like 2 Hollywood studios that have films that are allowed to be seen by the entire world, and copying a film is a real bad thing. See, but it's like in the world where digital media is so prevalent, and digital files can be copied with no material
effort.
cost.
Right
basically.
click, copy,
It's
paste.
it's one of those things.
Copy my NFTs.
Their laws are just not up to date. Where I mean, it's really hard to justify things
I mean,
like
even
that.
our laws aren't even up to date.
Oh, absolutely
But
not. That's what I
don't
mean.
think
The copyright laws
That's
in
an
general.
interesting thing with how fast technology evolves. Are any laws for technology ever going to be up to date?
Absolutely
I
not.
Sort of say no.
So
never.
Moore's law says technology updates like this, and history, if you've been alive on Earth at all, is that legislation updates like this.
Yeah, pretty much.
It doesn't. So I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure if there's really a future where we're going to have things like DMCA actually up to date and relevant in the modern age. I just don't see it.
All right.
Yeah, I don't know.
Shifting us off of
Yeah.
law and politics, we'll save that for a Rob episode.
Yeah, right. Spoiler or warning at the beginning of the next episode or whatever. This episode contains political discussion.
Oh, God.
Oh God.
So Intel
Intel.
leaked
Arc?
some more GPU stuff.
Hey,
so
I'm always for a new competition in that market. Yes.
officially, they did delay the desktop GPUs by a quarter. They're not coming out until Q2 now.
That sort of sucks, but oh well.
Oh well. They did say that quarter one that their laptop GPUs will be launching this quarter.
Very good.
And they're going to be also launching workstation class GPUs in quarter 3.
So what is all right? Run me down. What's a workstation class GPU? Like
Lots of shitloads of RAM, but has like the same chip, and you charge 3 times as much for it.
So
And it has like an unlocked encoder, like
That
didn't have
too.
as many
so a
encoders, yeah.
competitor to the like Quadro.
Yeah, a Quadro
series?
competitor.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And then they've also announced their their 4-year roadmap. And they said by 2024, they want to have a 3090 competitor.
Can I just say that these names are absolutely ridiculous?
Oh, I love
them.
their names. They're so like gamer
Alchemist.
cartoony.
Battle Image, Celestial, and
No,
Druid.
that's Battle Mage, like from D&D.
Battle Mage.
These are
There
literally
is
like
no such thing as a battle mage in D&D.
I'm memeing.
There are Celestials and Druids, though.
I have no
Alchemist
comments.
was a class in older versions, but it no longer is.
Yeah, but the engineers are probably old enough that they played the older versions.
I mean, yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
It's a product that will address the
So actually, then,
ultra
yeah, I guess-
enthusiast segment.
I guess Battle
Okay.
Mage would have probably been a class in an older version. If not, I'm sure there's homebrew for it.
But either way, yeah. So they were basically just announced more GPUs. I'm very excited because Intel has been pushing Linux support in their GPUs hard. Like really hard. The official drivers for these new GPUs are going to be baked into the Linux kernel.
That's good. That's very good.
Wait. So you're telling me Intel's making GPUs now, and they're putting a factory in the state of Ohio?
Yes.
Oh man! There's hope for me yet.
There's hope for me too. Honestly, though, that's really good because it's my understanding that AMD used to be the de facto go-to GPU if you're running Linux. Like, yeah, sure,
They
you can
still
run
are.
Nvidia,
NVIDIA's been
dog
better.
shit proprietary drivers. It'll kind of like half work, but it's still gonna be really
I don't know why
bad.
everyone. Honestly, I haven't had an issue with my NVIDIA driver on Linux.
Yeah, but is it game ready?
It's not.
It's okay. The performance is crap, but like
perform-
the desktop.
So you had an issue. The performance is not what it is on Windows.
It's not, but also I don't use my Linux for gaming right now.
I mean,
so
that's
I
because
would
you
like to
can't,
change
right?
that, but right now Windows is the only way I can play my games because anti-cheat. So
I'm going to try once the Steam Deck comes out.
yeah, we're gonna have to try it once
really
Steam
hope,
Deck comes out.
yeah, Steam Deck should really push some stuff.
But
really
anyway,
well,
yeah. But
we'll see when
Intel,
the
basically,
software's ready.
the gist of it is Intel is gunning to be a Nvidia competitor. They're gunning for Linux support, and like more competition is better because now
Absolutely.
we no longer have 2 companies for CPUs and 2 companies for GPUs. In the
3
near
for each,
future,
right?
we're gonna have 3 companies for GPUs,
Oh right, 3 GPUs, 2 CPUs.
and we'll have 3 CPUs.
Oh, because
What are the
because
3
because ARM is taken off, and honestly, I believe that within the next decade, we will see desktop class like like Windows for ARM running games with like Nvidia and Intel GPUs. I think that will happen.
Wild, because can't you pack a whole ton of ARM cores into like the same area?
Oh yes, you can.
CPU?
That's why
so
the
you're
whole
gonna be
push.
looking at like what 180 cores on an ARM, like 180 ARM cores on your desktop.
Yeah, and that's also why like servers been gunning for ARM is because you can have a crap load of cores in the one use server.
Yeah,
you can have
I guess that is fair,
System
right?
76 used to make, and I don't know if they make servers anymore, but they used to. They made a server that had 300 ARM cores in it in a one-use server, which is like this thick.
Yeah, right. It's like 3 inches.
Yeah.
High, is it?
Yeah, it's like 3 inches. It was so much power in like a tiny package.
Yeah, because what? Servers, you generally need more core count than clock
Yeah,
speed.
because you need
More
to
cores is more better.
more cores so you can do more processes and run more
Parallelization.
things at the
Yeah,
same
because
time.
a web server,
Yeah.
especially web servers, want more cores because that way they can offload to, they can distribute the load as much as possible.
Yeah.
Sockets.
A lot of video games are still heavily single-threaded,
Damn it.
Yeah,
There's
so
like
for us,
there's a
as
joke there. I'm not
gamers,
gonna
we
make
don't
it.
care as much because we're like,
unless the developers change.
But as a developer, I care about cores.
Yeah.
Hey, I know how to write.
I like
drivers
cores
for
so I can
Cortex
render the.
M4s.
I like cores so I can render the podcast more quickly.
I like cores so I can compile my compiled programs like instantly.
I don't like
yeah,
cores
that
because
too.
they're harder to program.
What?
No, you just use async like a
Too
modern
many.
developer.
I'm talking low-level stuff.
Oh, okay.
That's fair.
That sucks.
That's fair. These guys have 2 cores, and I think that's a pain in the
By
ass.
these guys, he
to
means an
deal with.
ESP32 he just picked up.
Yes, it's an ESP32.
But anyway,
they're
yeah,
great. I love them. But,
Basically,
oh,
we're
man.
excited for Intel's new GPUs.
Absolutely,
Like, that's the gist
yeah.
of it. And here's the thing. Okay, this is not only that so I read somewhere, I don't know where, I'm gonna have to find it for the next episode, but I read somewhere that like Intel apparently has like a fucking massive stockpile of GPUs ready to throw onto the market.
Where are they?
And the reason why is because
pre-order.
they want to flood the market and watch the prices go boom.
Oh man.
And watch their stock go whoop.
All right, fair enough. I don't know.
All right.
I really do hope that AMD gets slapped down hard for the 210 whatever.
Oh my God! There's do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, the
NVIDIA
low-end
6500 that was
Yeah,
the worst
there was-
modern GPU ever.
It was like on par with what, a 970?
No, it was
Or a
like a
960?
960
Yeah.
performance.
Oh
and a new
man!
GPU.
Hey, my first GPU in
Meanwhile-
2016
Hey,
was
you
a
have a-
960.
You
Whoa!
have
Let
a
me go buy
980
that
now,
again
you'll
for
be
the
fine.
same price.
Yeah.
You're still, Alex is still a few generations behind, but he's a 980 Ti
No,
now.
my 960 is in an anti-static bag in the basement now.
Hey man,
Finally
you can
moved
sell
on.
that for the price of
Yeah, probably
of
for
a
the
brand
price I
new-
got it.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe even more.
Oh my god.
Yeah, but like, that was a terrible GPU, and
so bad.
I can't wait until like real budget options come in. Like Intel for their 1st
I'm
generation.
hoping Intel targets that.
Well,
I
their
feel like
first
we've
no,
said
no,
this
they
on the
are
last podcast,
no, not.
but yeah.
Well, I hope they do. They are. They've already stated that we're targeting the middle, the low to mid end for our 1st generation of GPUs.
I mean, I think that's the right place to target because
Yeah.
we don't have that. Like, I'd love a $100 GPU that
Oh,
outperforms whatever.
Yeah, performs integrated
Yeah,
graphics.
outperforms integrated graphics, outperforms anything.
Yeah.
I mean, I just want a cheap GPU that's super good. I don't know. The problem is we're probably never going to see another 10
We're never gonna
series.
see like 10 series where it was like $100 for a GPU that was like perfect for Counter-Strike and League of Legends.
Yeah, because what was the percentage gain from the 9 series to the 10 series?
it was a lot. It was like a
huge.
50% gain. or
Yeah.
something
Yeah, and
like
we're
that.
never going to see that again. What was the percent gain from the 20 series
Also,
to
it
the
wasn't-
30 series?
so
Wasn't
raw-
it all of like 5%?
No,
on
it was
average?
more
Like,
than
it was-
that.
I thought it was really,
10,
really small, but
Relative
maybe it was
to the.
It was a lot,
3080.
but then the 20 series to the 30 series was another massive jump.
Oh, you know what? I must be thinking price versus performance because all of the like prices of the cards jumped up
they've
by
all been
so
huge
much.
jumps. So
that
the 10
basically the performance gain was 5% per dollar or something.
Well, so
It
per
was
dollar,
so
it wasn't that much
tiny.
of an improvement, but the actual performance of the chip was a big jump. So 10 to 20 series was a
But
50% or so jump.
I think
again.
that performance
but then the
per
price
dollar
is like
a
doubled.
much more important. Yeah, right. I think
Right.
performance per dollar is a better metric anyway, though. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, and that's
your
why
3060
Intel is
outperforms
targeting.
your 1060 or your 2060, but it costs 150% the cost of the other lower end card. So is it really the same low end card?
Yeah.
Not really. Your 2050 is now equivalent to a 3040 or something, right? So
But yeah, they're definitely trying to target a middle to low end segment for their 1st generation. And now part of that might not just be like, oh, we want to, that's our main target because that's what the sales we want, because those don't exist yet. The other reason why is because they probably don't have their fabrication nailed down yet.
I mean, that's fair. With smaller cards, I suppose you could use a smaller like SoC or a smaller actual package, and so you get more out of the same wafer as well. So
I wonder just what they have in development. Of course, nobody's ever going to know unless they work for Intel, and they're not going to be allowed to say.
I want to
but
work
I would
for
love
Intel.
to
That's
just
really
go-
cool.
Yeah, it would be.
VLSI is a really, really interesting thing. I really want to get into that more.
Be baking your own chips.
I would love to. Yeah, I want to do that as
Nice.
a casual coders project or something. I mean, I don't know. One of my dream jobs from high school was to work for AMD or Intel.
Well,
and actually,
Intel is definitely going to be a possibility.
and
You have to stay in the state.
fabricate or design CPUs. I think that would be just so cool to design like pieces of silicon at the nanoscale and then have it manufactured and then just shock it with some electricity and make this rock think. I want to do that.
Oh, you make a good point of like, yeah, they mentioned that they have like a massive supply. Maybe that is why they did low to mid end, because they knew they could pump more cards out and sell them to consumers.
I think it's possible.
flood the
There will be a
market.
They will fill a gap.
I also
that's
think
not
Well,
we-
here's the thing: if they flood the market, prices of other GPUs are going to come down by natural
That's
design.
what I'm thinking. That's
One
kind of the
other
best
thing,
move.
though,
Yeah.
you mentioned that Nvidia has a whole pile of like cards in stock. Why would they ever want to release a whole bunch of cards and watch the price go way down when they know they can just keep trickling them out and they'll sell at these
Is this the
crazy
new
inflated
conspiracy?
prices?
But then Intel decides, no, we're going to flood the market and then just send out as much cards as possible.
But
and
then
just start
Nvidia
pumping
can
them
counter
out.
that by just flooding the market, so they can just wait until Intel.
Oh yeah.
can
Do you know who
counter.
benefits from this? Us.
Yeah, we could really
Yeah.
use a flood right about now. I'm thinking that's.
Well, you know, I don't know. Always skeptical. Got to be skeptical.
Now that being said, we're gonna have to still beat the crypto nerds to it. Says me.
Yeah, you fucking crypto nerd. Are you gonna try to go out and buy 10
I am
cards?
pro proof of stake, anti proof of work, because proof of stake doesn't eat all my GPUs. So
You're right, it eats all of your
Damn
I
crypto
don't know.
boys.
no,
get
it
off
eats,
of my
it eats all
market.
the
Crypto.
It eats all of the Amazon data center. I don't care about that. So
Is that why I can't watch my shows on Prime TV? You motherfucker, I swear to God.
Can
Yeah.
I take one of these GPUs and hook it up to a Raspberry Pi via an eGPU?
actually, that was a thing someone did.
Wait,
they
that's
actually,
real?
Now
Yeah,
that's a project.
So
I'm
the,
going to give
the
my
Ras-
Raspberry Pi the power of Kyle's 3080 Ti.
Only the Pi Compute Module, the Pi Compute Module 4, it does have a 4, I think it's a 4x PCIe like 2.0 link.
Can I run
Interesting.
some Pi compute modules in SLI?
Well, you have to use the open source drivers because you have to compile them for ARM.
PCI bus on a Pi though. I've never would have thought.
All right,
I'd
let me
hear
go
that.
look it up.
I
I'm gonna
love
look
it.
up.
I want it.
Pi
interesting.
for
That's awesome.
PCIe.
This here's my Raspberry Pi NAS. Wait, you could totally do that, couldn't you?
Yeah.
Like a
We're adding
Raspberry
PCIe
Pi,
to your
throw
Raspberry
in one
Pi
of the
4 that you
PCIe
hack.
cards and have what?
Oh,
8?
Hackaday, apparently
hard
you can
drives?
hack it onto a normal Pi.
Oh my god, that's ridiculous! I love they have the whole card like
Oh
the
my
card edge
God, that's
connector.
ridiculous. That is ridiculous.
One
and I
USB.
love it.
Why are they powering
What
it with
card is
alligator?
that?
I
Is
don't
that
know.
Is that an actual GPU?
It's like a shitty
looks like-
GPU.
I
Can you
love
describe
it.
it for our audio listeners?
Yeah, yes, please.
Actually,
So
I'll
this
just send
image
it in
on
the chat.
Hackaday, which we'll be able to at least throw a link in or something, shows a Raspberry Pi with a USB connection into a PCIe connector, and then a PCI card plugged in, which has what appears to be an HDMI. No, that's Ethernet.
That's a suicide cable. Look.
Oh, this is just an Ethernet card. Yeah, there we go. It says an RTL 8111 based Ethernet card, but they're using the PCI bus.
So they modified their USB-A port to act as a PCIe bus because again, that's a suicide cable. Look,
Yeah,
What, it's
yeah.
A to
A to A, yeah.
it's A to
I've got
A.
one of those.
Yeah, well, I have
For
a
my
lot of them
Vive.
from work.
Yeah, me and Alex
Yeah.
called them
Why are
suicide
they?
cables.
Why? Might I ask?
You don't want to plug them in. A host-to-host connection is a bad idea, not only electrically but
Yeah, that's
digitally.
Well, our company that we used to work for would make these cables as patch cables, and the problem is if you tried to take USB-A, plug it into my computer, and then USB-A and plug it into Alex's computer, it would blow them.
it could be problematic.
Got it. What? Because it's gonna flip the 5 volts to ground on the other computer.
Yeah,
Yeah. Oh boy.
Don't do that.
don't do that. It's
Wait.
bad.
No, that would be a crossover cable.
But
it's not. It's not a
cable.
crossover cable.
So
Wait,
then
no.
it should be fine, right? It's 5 volts to 5 volts on the.
Would you like to try it?
I mean, if it's a high quality
like to try
computer
it?
that is properly shielded and protected on its USB port that I don't care
Look
about.
at this. No, look at
maybe,
this.
but-
They even sell boards where you can drop the
What?
piece. That you can drop.
It's
the
a Pi
compute
hat.
module.
It's a Pi hat with 4 PCIe slots. That's
Well,
pretty
that's
funny.
because you
All
need
right,
the
that's
compute
awesome.
module to do it.
Okay.
But yeah, you can drop in
That's cute.
lanes.
Yeah, that's
Isn't that
awesome.
cool? Well,
Mini PCIe, I guess I have to.
Well, no,
It's standard.
this is full size PCIe.
Four mini PCIe
Yeah.
slots. Yes.
But it's still a cool idea.
Oh, that's so funny.
It's a switch
Probably get
too.
closer
This
to
isn't.
that, by the way.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a switch, so it's
What
not.
hold on. What did they just say? Admittedly.
It's not going to get you typical GPU speeds and may be further limited, as the Chinese language wiki that accompanies the board states that the bandwidth is 500 megabits per
500
second.
megabits per second. Which seems to
Oh,
be,
God.
quote, missing a zero
Is that-
and may not be a mistake.
Wait,
no,
is
it
that,
may be a mistake.
Is that PCI? Wait, it may be missing a zero.
They're
It may
thinking
be
it's a mistake. They're thinking it's missing a zero.
5 gigabyte per second. I mean, that's not
Gigabit, not gigabyte. Gigabit.
Sorry. That's. Oh wait,
I'm gonna
no, that's
paste this
still
link.
really bad. That's almost PCIe Gen
I mean,
2.
It's
What's
like-
the
it is-
bottleneck in
it
this
is Gen
system,
2.
though?
I mean,
It's
still
a Raspberry
fine.
Pi.
No, it's straight up. See, the Raspberry
still
Pi
really
Compute
impressive.
Module 4 has a single lane of PCIe Gen 2.
Oh.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
just
all
impressed.
it gets.
Yeah, they got it to
I
work.
mean, still, that's awesome. That's really impressive and really cool. I don't know. I'm all for
Apparently,
new leaps
people got
forward in
it to
technology.
boot off of NVMe.
That's cool. Yeah. Yeah.
Beautiful.
This here's my NVMe Raspberry Pi, which also serves as my home mini NAS. Actually, that'd be a really cool project now that I think about it.
Yeah.
Do it.
All right, so Kyle, do you have any topics you want to talk about?
Yeah, I feel like Kyle, we've like
Kyle's been really quiet this whole time.
Been
Yeah.
geeking out over here, these PCIe slots on a
I'm
Raspberry
the one
Pi.
who mentioned the Raspberry Pi to GPU thing.
we'll mention another. No, I don't know.
That should be a casual coder's project of getting his 3080 Ti to work on a Pi.
Thanks, I hate it. But let's
It'd be
do
super
it.
bottlenecked by the Pi, but okay. Favorite. All of us work on projects. Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Electronics projects or whatever, or non-electronics projects.
Uh,
In order to do electronics projects, you normally need some form of electronics, right?
Right?
There's quite a few different boards that are available. We have a video, for example, describing the Arduino versus Raspberry Pis. There's a chip recently that Ian bought that I think is super cool. It's on our table. It's called an ESP32-E chip. And this one in particular is made by
ExpressIF.
ExpressIF, and it's called a Fire Beetle.
Fire
Beetle
Beetle.
2.
Oh, sorry.
By
No,
DF
I'm
Robot.
wrong. Wow. Okay. So you're going fully for these guys. All right. So it's not an SoC. It's a PCB with another ESP.
Yeah, the actual chip on the
the actual-
ESPs is like this big. It's tiny.
It's that's way too large, actually, Chandler. But yeah, it's a tiny little SoC, little black package guy that gets soldered to another PCB.
This is just the antenna.
ExpressIF
antenna.
sells those as fully created boards, and then other people make development boards, as they're called. So this here is a development board by DF Robot. It's a Fire Beetle, whatever, with an ESP32 on it and USB-C. It's got a whole pile of features, and they're really cool.
Like a lot of dev boards normally use micro USB. So the fact that this one uses USB-C, I think it's super cool. Because
That is
I
cool.
I would,
I like
I
that.
would argue that a lot of dev boards also use USB-B.
They're switching to USB-C
Yeah.
for the most
Finally,
part. I think
they need
Arduino
to.
is
I
talking
think that
about
this is the
switching
only
to USB-C.
ESP32 board I've found with the USB-C.
Okay,
So I think that's
first I've
ESP32
seen.
maybe, but me and Ian have a microcontroller called a QT Pi that uses USB-C.
That's an ARM-based guy.
It is an ARM. It's an ARM Cortex M0.
I mean, yeah, those are really cool.
They're really nice. I actually quite like them. It's a SAMD21.
I mean, the problem is that it's got, I don't know, a small amount of GPIO.
It's tiny. It's the
yeah,
smallest
it's super
microcontroller.
tiny.
It's
It's
almost the
awesome.
size of a USB-A. Like, it's really
Yeah, right.
small.
But that's awesome. You can do a lot with a small package.
Yeah.
It just depends.
And it has
The
like a
reason that
stupid amount of flash on it. It's like 256K of flash. Like you never need that much for a board that size, but it's
Yeah,
great.
I don't know how much flash is on these guys.
Their 1 megabyte is their minimum.
Yeah,
I
that's
think.
whatever
Yeah.
comes with that.
I mean,
don't remember.
that's a whole ton of flash, and that's a lot. But it's also got Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, so you sort of need some of that, I think, for buffering. and
Yeah,
things
such
like
as
that.
HTTPS libraries.
Yeah.
But shit, for like a $5 to $10 board, that's
Yeah, right.
That's a good deal.
And
I
then
love
you
it.
can stick
was-
that in just about any project, right?
Sure.
Because it supports a whole bunch of interface.
Oh, it's got
protocols.
I2C, it's got UART, it's got SPI.
It does have to be 3.3 volt. It
It
can't
has
be 5.
analog and digital.
That is the one
You
slightly
can power it
annoying
with
thing.
5 volt, but it
You
doesn't
can't power it with
But the
5 volt.
logic is 3.3.
Supports
It's
your
also
lithium
got
ion
built-in
battery.
LiPo batteries. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, LiPo battery would be at 3.
I'm currently on Expressive's
Well,
website.
LiPo
looking through
batteries
their
between
controllers.
3.2 and 4.2 volts.
Yeah, and it takes that down.
What is
to
this
Yeah,
LED on here? Is this RGB?
It's an RGB LED.
Yeah,
Yeah.
RGB LED. That's so fun. Come on.
Well, this is a clone of an Adafruit board. And Adafruit's known for...
Whoops, go buy the Adafruit one.
Everyone's more expensive though.
The Adafruit one's $20.
Yeah, but
This one's $7.
Support the original
AliExpress.
Ah.
Bang good.
Yeah. No, so the Adafruit board looks identical to this. It has the ESP32. It has the ribbon connector. It has the battery connector and everything, but it uses micro B, so it's inherently worse.
It's inherently worse. I mean, yeah.
One thing that's really cool, or I find really interesting, I guess, is that the ESP32 chip itself is a little tiny like black chip, that gets out of the board.
And then it goes inside of a module.
Yeah,
It's in this module, yeah.
In this case, and in a lot of cases, you do see inside of a module that it's nice and shielded. So
Yes.
that's why you see.
Well,
that
that's because the chip itself doesn't have an antenna. This is a little board that ESP also sells. I think it's the ESP32. Yeah, it's the W Room 32E. So you can buy this guy as just a little chip without the breakout board from ExpressIF. It's got the antenna built into the PCB and all that. So then it's got your other GPIOs, and then you can adapt to that.
You can also just buy the chip and adapt your own antenna.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. I have to figure out how to make antennas because I purchased some of just
You can
the
make them in
chips as well.
PCBs. That's what they did there, is that they just kind of have a bunch of
Yeah,
traces that
great.
act
You
as
can
the
make it in
antenna.
PCBs. Do you want to figure out the CLC network for me?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
man.
can
Help me
sell-
figure out the capacitance and the inductance that I need to match the antenna, and then figure out how to make an antenna trace.
Can you explain that to me in
It's-
Python, please?
Exactly. I don't even understand it, Chandler. It's not like super easy.
Oh, wait,
it takes, probably a couple degrees to figure that out. It's not a simple thing.
Yeah.
I
ESP
remember Dave EEV blog going over some of
I'm
like
gonna-
the
I
antenna
wanna see which one
characteristics
this
on some
is.
stuff.
I have to look
see
at
it.
more. Yeah,
Sure.
I got to do a
Wanna
whole
see
bunch
which
more
expressive
research
this
and
is.
learning.
It's very
Still, It's
interesting.
gonna be a long time.
ESP32.
But eventually,
it's
I
the-
think
yeah,
some
it's the
casual
E, it's the low
coders
power model, I
projects
think.
are going to use just an ESP32 or a pre-populated board or whatever without being one of those
Actually,
pre-shielded
I don't even know if they
modules.
still have this chip
It
listed
just
on
sort
their
of
website.
depends. They might.
Sure, they have something like it.
Yeah, but it's also just really cool in general, in my opinion, to just have an idea
They
for a
don't have this
project
chip listed on
and
their
have a
website.
dev board on
Yeah,
a shelf that you can just pull
absolutely.
off
Heck
and write some code for it, throw it
Yeah.
on there. It has a built-in LiPo battery and stuff also on
Yeah,
it.
so
the
it's
one
almost
I wanna
perfect for just about anything. That's why I
it's
really
just
like
5.
these boards.
Oh, they're great.
You can just pull it
QFN
off a shelf,
5x5?
have an I2C sensor, done. SPI sensor, done. Analog sensors, done.
Done.
Digital sensors, done.
Done.
It supports touch. The pins, you can like set up touch pins and stuff on
Oh,
it.
they have like the capacitive buttons.
Yeah, it'll
Oh,
work
I
as
love that.
They have
capacitance
I squared
buttons.
C. They have a.
Yeah.
They have this
use all
button
peripherals.
is just adapted to a pin.
Just
you can
to-
just use
Yep.
it.
There's actually two
reset.
LEDs on that board.
Yeah,
there's a green LED as well. Up on
Yeah, I
the
see
top
the
next
I
to
see the LEDs, but I didn't. This
like
button is.
GPIO.
This, you can just use this button as like a test for like a
Right.
pin.
Yeah.
Very convenient.
Yep.
Very convenient. This is a reset button on the other side,
Yeah.
so don't hit this by accident. But.
I guess I'll just reboot it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Vector
I
cache.
want to. So, like, I'm not a super big electronics guy, but there's one thing I am nerdy about in the electronics world, and that's CPUs. So you can actually buy a version of these ESP8266 modules that run RISC-V,
It's an
Nice.
and I would be very interested in trying out one of those.
Can I get
Which
one with
are,
MIPS?
do you recall what those MIPS? Oh my god.
Those are running a custom.
Yep. Do you
instruction
recall
set.
what the RISC-V
I-
ESP32s
I
are?
have it brought up. It's the ESP32-C,
Oh, okay. You see, I looked into those, but
and
I
they
didn't
they
buy
have
them.
they have Bluetooth 5 support. on them.
Bluetooth 5 LE.
I would have purchased those, but I don't think
They're a little
there
more
was
expensive
some
usually.
weird thing with them where like the one that I see didn't support Wi-Fi or only supported Wi-Fi. And not
Yeah,
Bluetooth
so
or
some of them do
something,
have the
so-
Bluetooth disabled.
Yeah, I
but-
guess I should have shopped around a little bit better.
But they
'cause that's
do
awesome.
have. They're also only single core. They're not dual core. But like,
Fine by me.
who the like? Okay, I love multi-core programming, but if I'm doing it on a microcontroller, I really don't want to think about.
Yeah,
that.
but this microcontroller can host a web server to
When you
where
have-
having another core might be very useful.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I've done it. I've hosted a web server on those things before, but if I'm the only one
don't know
connecting,
if
why
you
do
do
I
it
need more
right.
cores?
When you
Maybe
have
you're not the one
400
connecting.
KB SRAM and 384 KB ROM, I don't think it really
You're not
cares.
doing
They
a
don't.
whole
They don't
lot,
care what
man.
you're putting on there. You're not gonna get.
I mean,
the,
you could technically connect a like SD card or something up to one of these. And
Yeah,
host
they
files
support
on it.
yeah, use that
SDI.
SPI.
Yeah.
Is it SDIC? They have a name for it. There's
What is
a
SDIC?
SDIO, right?
SDIO is the
SDIO.
proprietary one. I thought that all computers.
But yeah, but they're all like compatible for it. It's
I think
basically
it's-
just SPI, right?
Speaking of CPUs, then I'm pretty sure the CPU is like 10 times faster than like your average Arduino.
Do you know what the average Arduino is? This runs at 240 megahertz. The Arduino is probably 32.
Which one is this?
Megahertz?
It's this one isn't listed on their website anymore.
It's the ESP32.
These ones run at like 240.
Really?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, they're
crazy.
fast.
They're too fast.
Dude, our bus clock
Well,
at work is
I
like
guess it's
64
not-
megahertz.
Well, no, what does the M0 run at?
But the thing is, it's not entirely about your clock speed, though. It's also about CPI.
That's true.
It's clocks per instruction.
Yeah, I know.
So-
On these, it's so slow.
Woo,
It's clocks
CSD.
It's clocks per
Yeah.
instruction, not
Well, it's always
instructions
got to
per clock.
be. Oh no, it's always got to be clocks per instruction. You can't go sub. Well, technically, you can go sub zero with some weird
pipelining.
jumping and other.
You
branch
can
stuff
on desktop CPUs.
Really?
Yeah.
Pipelining.
Well, no, on Nvidia and AMD's advertising material,
How
they
are
call
you
it
doing
IPC.
multiple instructions per clock?
1, cores.
Pipelining.
Sure, but
2,
I wouldn't consider
pipelining.
that- Well,
You took the class with me, Ian.
yeah, I know.
I'm on Ian's side.
While
in this
something's in the
discussion.
memory stage and
All
something's
right,
in the
see, the electrical
instruction
engineers
fetch.
versus the yeah.
I didn't
Computer
remember if
I'm a
I got
computer
okay,
engineer,
so let's see.
but yeah,
What's the
let's move
first?
on.
Is it instruction fetch, instruction decode?
Yes.
Fetch,
then you
decode,
have
execute, memory, write back.
You took it more recently than me, so I'm glad at least somebody here is paying attention. So,
Yeah.
Fetch the address of the instruction.
but then you think, I mean,
decode
like,
it, figure out what's going where.
if we're talking
execute, perform your
one
calculations,
system clock,
interface with memory,
wouldn't
and write
even
back
like
to
2
registers.
cores
That's
doing
MIPS
that
though.
be like 8 instructions per,
Clock.
or 8 operations? I guess now we're in that weird
Yeah,
kind of like, because it's like one. Yeah, I don't know where you draw the line there.
I don't know.
I know how it works. I don't know how
I guess
they
cores really
metric.
do complicate it.
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I would.
Which
I
is
would
also
see,
why
I sort of personally, and maybe this is way wrong. I don't know, but I would see it as CPI per core, and not CPI of the total thing, but like CPI per core, because each core is doing something sort of different. So what's the CPI of this core? And your pipeline's only going to get you down to 1 CPI if it's perfectly like forwarded and all that.
Although if you think like a secondary core isn't doing anything, does that drag down your total average?
Well, your total average, I guess your total average maybe could be lower.
Okay, so
He's pulled up
basically,
Stack Overflow.
I did pull up Stack Overflow. So
Yeah,
basically,
yeah.
you're supposed to use clocks per instruction whenever the instructions per clock would be less than 1, and you're supposed to use instructions per clock in the opposite when it's more than 1.
But I'm struggling to see when you have instructions per
say
clock.
there was a loop with 80 instruction executed 42 times, and a total of 10,000 cycles were taken to execute the program. So the total executed instructions 80 by 42 is 3,360, which they word here with CPI being 2.97 because that's 10,000 over 3,360, or
Yeah, that sounds about right.
IPC being the inverse of that being 0.33.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay, I guess there's maybe a...
Which, on like modern desktop CPUs, you can get over that, because another thing that CPUs do is that CPUs will predict what the next instruction is going to
Yeah,
be.
right. It's branch prediction.
Branch
but-
prediction. And that can increase, that can make your
Computer system
IPC above
sidecar.
1. That can make your IPC more than 1. And that's why Intel and AMD talk about, oh, we have a 20% IPC improvement because of our branch prediction or some other technique.
what
I
was that
still
metric
don't
that...
see it,
Did you finish
though.
CSD already? Have you finished that class already? So there's a metric for like how efficient, what is it, like how your prediction strategy. I think is that what you're saying can't be more than 1? Because that makes sense. That you couldn't have more than 100% success rate of predicting the right instruction, and you would never
Yeah, but there's
expect a
different-
100%.
Yeah, you can never expect 100%.
I
But
don't
there's,
know. I
there's,
was just saying
there's more
you-
CPU architecture stuff that's beyond my realm of
I mean,
expertise that is able to
you're
make this happen.
probably bridging into different CPU
I want to say
architectures.
IPC
The one I'm defaulting
of,
to here is MIPS,
modern
right?
processors.
And with
You
MIPS,
do,
you can't have multiple like instructions
multi-core?
being completed per clocks, or I don't know. You can't.
I wanna
do
look at what the
multiple per
IPC,
clock
like,
cycle,
what is
right?
an
It's
average
one
IPC of, like,
complete per clock cycle if it's perfectly
Rocket
pipelined.
Yeah,
down
that's what
the
I
thing.
I have the
But
one generation before that.
I feel like
Yeah,
we've
what did I
gotten
say?
way too far in the weeds.
They're giving me like marketing numbers and not actual numbers. I don't care.
All right, boys. Do we think we should change the topic because we went way far in the weeds of like?
Well, the
CPU
original
architecture
topic
and
was just
design
that
and-
the fact that an ESP32 is
Good
super
Lord,
cool.
we
and
started
it's,
there.
it's
So
a really cool board, and
Microcontrollers are cool. Do more electronics
Yeah.
projects.
even the
Yeah.
microcontrollers are getting faster. It's great.
I mean, yeah, that is sort of how that goes. More transistors, more faster.
Faster, better, stronger.
Faster, better, stronger. God dang
I don't know if they're getting any harder. Well, harder to work with, maybe.
Yeah, that depends.
yeah, it's probably gonna be my go-to board whenever I'm working with a microcontroller.
Yes.
just because of all of its
So
Yes.
I'm a little out of date, but I did recently, and by recently I mean in the last 2 to 3 years, purchase a bunch of cheap Chinese Node MCUs.
Yeah, that's just another ESP32.
I still don't know why they
right?
call them Node MCUs because isn't there like
they-
a
don't they-
framework that can run Node.js on them or
Can
something
they
like
run
that?
Node?
I don't
That's my
know.
thought.
I don't
I
know
don't know.
why they're called that, but basically it's the ESP8266, and there's like there's dozens
Node
of
MCU
versions
Lua,
of
though?
this.
I think Node MCU is
There's
Lua.
dozens of versions of this. I used C code on it. I compiled C and deployed it on the board. I'm sure there are other options you can use, but they're like $5 a piece. If you buy them in bulk, you can probably get them even cheaper than that. And this is just the modern equivalent. And this thing excites me.
The ESP8266 was the precursor to the ESP32.
Node MCU is a firmware for those devices that let you run Lua on them.
Okay, well, there are
Lua.
devices
Oh,
that call
God.
themselves Node MCUs, and I got the cheap Chinese
I'm
knockoff.
aware of the devices called Node MCUs.
I don't like that.
I'm not,
What I like, if I do
100%
use Python, I'll use MicroPython, which I
intelligent.
think MicroPython and CircuitPython are the same thing now.
I really need to learn MicroPython. That's
It's
an
just
interesting
Python.
one.
It's not that hard.
I had to
Well, I
actually,
don't know how to flash it or deal with it or
Oh,
anything
so
like
there's
that
just a
yet.
program you got to put on your computer, and then you get the firmware file and you flash it like a normal.
seems like we're full of misnomers right now. It's like things that, I mean,
It is a bunch of misnomers.
when I was going in, I did notice one complaint I had about the cheap Chinese Node MCU knockoff is that I needed to use a different bootloader, and they didn't have like the right bootloader at first. But I did finally get it to work, and now I just like don't touch any of my settings. But there are so many of those ESP8266 breakout boards like this, and for the price, this ESP32 looks like a nice piece of work for development.
The
I'm
one problem that I
excited.
have with some of these
Yeah?
is the WCH serial adapter. WCH is a company, it's a Chinese company that manufactures like serial adapters.
Are you talking about like the FTDI thing?
Yeah.
Ah.
I think it's a CH2 or 340G or whatever it is. It's on some
Is
super
it like a
cheap-
licensed
Shush.
FTDI clone?
It's a very it's on some super cheap like Arduino clones and other microcontroller clones. And the problem is a bunch of companies cloned the CH340G
Oh, I know about
thing.
this.
And so if you get a bad one with a clone, of course the company set up something in their driver that
the driver
automatically
won't work.
bricks the clone and immediately makes it non-functioning. So if you get a clone, and you'll have no clue, no one really knows which ones are clones and which aren't, your device just gets instantly bricked if you plug it into a computer. And then you can't use it anymore. So
It's a complicated
That's-
world out there with licensing of interfaces.
I remember
I
hearing
try
about
to
this on
avoid
Hackaday.
WCH as a serial like adapter protocol.
Is this
or
something you
serial
see present on the
adapter.
board?
This is a WCH chip. It's not the same
the 10
one.
pin jobby?
Yeah, the 10-pin SOC.
That's why I'm pro using like
I know the AT Mega or Atmel bootloaders don't have that issue. So,
Yeah,
if
so-
you're getting an Arduino and it's a super cheap one, look on the board. If you see a like short, flat, like long rectangular package up by the USB header, skip over the board. You want a little square one.
Yeah, 'cause they're
it's a much
using-
smaller like square that doesn't have any exposed pins.
Yeah, so they're using on those boards. They're actually using a microcontroller as a USB to serial adapter.
It is pretty interesting, yeah.
They're using their AT Mega 16 because they have native USB built in. So they just do that, and then they convert USB to serial, and then they send it to the ESP. The
I know why I
AT Mega.
didn't buy the C series ESP32s. Now that you mentioned that, I purchased the ESP32-S2s because
Yes.
they have a built-in USB.
Oh,
interface.
they don't need serial?
No, they
have
don't.
USB
So you can literally
natively?
just
That's kind of
pump
nice.
USB directly into them, and it's great.
Okay, that makes sense.
I still
wanna,
have to figure out the antennas.
I
though,
still want to
but-
fuck with RISC-V. I think it'd be cool, and they have Arduino.
I'm sure
support
it would
for
be
now.
cool. Yeah, I'm not a good enough CPU or
I
not
almost
CPU. I'm not a
bought-
good enough PCB designer yet to really start incorporating like USB to serial adapters and all that
I
sort of
just
stuff.
care about the programming. That's what you're for, to design my PCBs. No.
What?
I just care about the programming aspect. 'Cause there's a few different like the
I care about the
compilers are
hardware,
different.
bro.
The compilers are different.
Gotta design your own.
Sci-Fi
I mean, yeah.
actually
what
made,
kind of engineer are you if you haven't designed your own microcontroller? You know, no.
Software engineer?
Yeah,
That's
hi.
probably pretty fair. Yeah.
Yeah, Sci-Fi.
Or like a mechanical or civil engineer.
Yeah, or anything else.
Sci-Fi, which is like the company that's really pushing RISC-V, actually makes an Arduino compatible
Yeah,
dev
that looks
board.
a lot like an Arduino.
It's supposed to be an Uno
interesting.
clone, but it runs
Interesting.
RISC-V.
And that's ESP32.
High
It looks
five.
like.
I don't think so. Actually,
I mean,
I think
the
it's
package
custom.
just looks ESP32
It's
like.
custom, but it does have Wi-Fi.
All right, fair enough.
Interesting. Oh yeah, it has that same weird form factor.
Yeah, it's just because you can buy just this module.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, so it's got Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. It's got a 32 megabit flash, which is what, 8 megabytes?
32 megabit.
No, it's 4 megabytes. It's 4 megabytes. Yeah, it's megabit, which is dumb, but whatever.
Yeah, it's 4 megabytes.
Sadly, it uses micro B. Oof.
Oh well.
Just put one of those like dongles.
Wait, micro?
Micro USB.
Yeah.
Oh no.
USB micro.
I think it's really funny.
But they're a little expensive, but also this is like stupid. This chip is like running close to like 500 megahertz or something
wow,
crazy.
$60 is a lot.
Yeah, it's a little expensive,
Whoa.
but they're also made like they're like.
Granted, genuine Arduinos are really expensive too.
Well, that's kind of
What's
why
that?
they assume
Yeah,
that these
right?
are being sold to businesses so they can charge out the ass for them.
fair enough.
What business is buying Arduinos?
Well, I don't know, but
I'm sure that there are plenty of projects that use Arduino.
That's
Sci-5
fair.
also make what's called a High 5 unmatched, which is basically a Raspberry Pi that runs RISC-V. This thing costs $1,000.
Does this have
Wait,
a JTAG
what?
port on it?
Yes, it does. Scroll down. It's the other way. I have it inverted.
You don't have the
There you go.
weird.
This is
Wait,
why
you-
touchscreens on laptops.
Wait,
when you're
you
showing
pull
something
down.
super
You
cool.
pull down on your touchpad to scroll.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Oh
I
my
hate
God,
it.
That's you have inverted scrolling and it's super weird.
It's just on Linux. On Windows, it's back to normal, but I've gotten used to it, so I just switch on the fly to
what
wherever
is
one
that?
works.
They got a card edge connector down there.
Yep.
Wow.
I have a PCIe slot, so you can run a GPU in it, because it doesn't have its own video outs.
This thing's a real piece of work.
And it uses an ATX
Holy-
power supply.
Yeah, it does. 24 pin.
Oh wait, that's like the full size of a motherboard then.
It's a mini ITX board.
Mini
Oh.
Fit Junior, baby.
Oh, I wasn't quite expecting that.
Yeah, it's a mini ITX board.
You
Nice.
said Pi, and I sort of just immediately went to Pi slash.
No, it's
Arduino
massive. It's
slash-
huge. It's like the size of my laptop.
So then, if
easily,
it's
yeah,
that big, why wouldn't I just buy a regular like mini ATX motherboard or something and throw in an Intel or AMD CPU?
because software development. Because you're developing
Developers.
you're developing for the RISC-V platform because
interesting.
they're trying to push RISC-V as like the new ARM.
switches?
They're trying to.
Alright.
This is just a dev board.
That's an Ethernet controller.
Fair enough.
They have those are all USB
Oh, they got
3s.
a micro SD card too.
Yeah, you can boot from microSD or NVMe.
Is that what those switches are for? The dip switches.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I'll throw out one last thing here. It's sort of, I don't know, weird.
Gigabit
I can
Ethernet.
accept USB Type B and USB C, but I won't accept micro USB.
Also,
it's sort of
apparent-
weird.
Alex, you know what these are?
B the full size.
Yeah, full size B, like the
Well, yeah,
kind
because
that you
those
generally
connectors
find
don't
on
destroy
printer.
themselves.
But
That's
yeah,
fair,
the
yeah.
connector also
They're-
doesn't
they're
destroy
the only
itself, and
reliable
it's
one.
commonly found on like Arduinos and whatever.
What are your thoughts on B
so-
Mini? I think B Mini's fine.
Mini B?
Mini B's fine. I haven't had
Mini
any
B is
trouble. Micro B
okay.
sucks.
It's rare on anything, which is why I don't like it.
Well, it's rare anymore.
I
It's
want
on my
every-
TI-84 CE or
The
whatever.
thing is, I want everything to be USB-C. I actually
Yeah.
cracked open a TI-84 to look and see, can I like make a new breakout board for
Yes.
USB-C or whatever? Because I want to keep one USB-C cable on my desk and be able to plug in everything.
Going
I
back
don't
to
want to go
Alex's
fish
USB-C
around for
rant.
another cable or
Yes.
anything. I just want
One
Type-C.
true standard.
Type-C all the things. Yeah.
What's wrong with all these standards? We
That's
should
why-
just make a new standard that will rule them all.
That's actually why I don't
now
mind
there are
buying a
are
laptop
16 standards, right?
that just has C ports on it.
That
I
is
don't-
interesting.
I'm
don't mind
fine
it.
with it. It just sort of depends, though.
I mean, also
don't
the
know. I don't
dongles aren't
love
that
the
expensive, and
dongles.
how much I spent on this laptop buying a $20 dongle wasn't that much adding to the costs.
That's
I don't
how all
know.
of our ABC Corporation computers are now. That
Oh, really?
I've heard from the boys down at HQ. They said like we sent them a programmer, and they were like, I actually don't have a USB cable to plug this in, but luckily, I have a dongle, but it's only USB-C ports on their laptops.
yeah, so one of these ports
I mean,
apparently
once
is
a lot of
serial
stuff
console.
transitions from like to USB-C on the host side as well,
Mm-hmm.
you're good. But we're still sort of in that intermediary ground where there's still a ton of USB-A.
Motherboards still have PS2 ports on
I
them,
know.
man. We're
I'd-
never gonna give
I'd-
up on old hardware.
No, I'd rather
Although I know
have
some-
A and C.
I know
to be
some nerds
honest.
who are really into old retro keyboards, and they still buy motherboards with PS2 ports so they can use their retro keyboards. Cameron.
I still think having a serial port on a motherboard would be like a really good thing to have. So
So I remember Cameron at work would used to
I
have
see
his freaking IBM Model M keyboard that he would program on. I will say it was a delight to type on, but I'm not.
his keyboard. Yeah. Oh my god. Yeah.
His-
Listen, man, you got to get that genuine full N key rollover. Come on, bro. None of that
Yeah,
software.
That's a good
N key.
transition
It was a
to
selling
what I
point.
wanted to talk about, and that is someone. Didn't you say you wanted to make a custom keyboard?
My friend does, and I'll probably do it for my next keyboard eventually. I don't know when that's gonna happen though.
I want to make a custom keyboard.
All right, Kyle's gonna be the one.
Well,
for
Kyle,
that.
did you see what I sent in the chat with the custom 3D printable keyboard?
The
It's called the 668.
The 668. I think I did see that one, but there's another one too that I saw that was super super cool because it has like the built-in ergonomics into it. To where
Is it 3D printable?
It is 3D printable. Yes.
Oh, nice.
It is super cool. Because one of my
I
biggest
don't run with ergo keyboards.
one of my biggest gripes
I wanna
about a
get a split
keyboard is why is your thumb your most flexible and opposable finger only on
for
one
the
button?
spacebar?
Yeah, only for the spacebar.
Hey man, that's not a problem for me because I'm a hunter and pecker. So
Hunter and Pecker.
yeah,
that's
dude.
bad.
I'm gonna quote you on that.
You're not gonna be able to change me. It's been too many years.
I think one
get it,
day
though.
you'll change.
I honestly, I only use like
highly doubtful.
like 2 or 3 fingers on each hand. I never use my pinkies. I don't have dexterity in those fingers.
How do you hold shift? Do you do it with your ring finger?
That's a great question. I need to put myself in front of a keyboard to watch what I do. Honestly, I feel like typically I use my ring finger. Like even like here, like well,
Here, let me log in.
Keyboard.
no. Taylor showed me his keyboard, and it's nothing like because it's a laptop keyboard.
Yeah,
I
so it's
have to
little
have a full
fucked up.
keyboard.
I feel it. I
Here,
need a
just
full
try it.
keyboard too.
Yeah, I feel like most of the time. Oh gosh, this is already. I hate typing on laptop keyboards in general.
I hate them too.
Yeah, this is.
See,
this is
I'm
kinda
used.
weird.
I can.
I guess. Yeah,
I've gotten to the point where I can
use my
switch.
pinkies.
I can switch on the fly.
Yeah,
So
I
I
on the fly as well.
So like I can go from Kyle's probably better because he's got a full size keyboard on his laptop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
I think in general, I'm kind of
proper
in
arrow keys,
I'm in
though?
the same boat as Ian that I've just
no,
been
you got the
typing that way
fucked
for
up
so
ones,
long,
too.
and I have tried. I think it's like a yearly occurrence for me to be like, today's the day where I'm gonna learn to teletype. I'm gonna do the whole home row thing. I'm gonna type for like 2 hours, and then I'll do it, and I'll just be like, all right, I'm kind of getting used to this, and then I like go to enter a password, or I have to like go write something, and I'm like, I can't slow my
Yeah.
words per minute back to like 2 just to type correctly, and I never have the patience for it.
That's
So
the
it's
keyboard
never
I
gonna
want.
work for me. Maybe
Thanks.
someday.
I sort of really hate it.
I typed fast enough with decent enough accuracy. I don't
Why
care.
is my right thumb only on the space bar?
Yeah, so I want to get into split boards. I think split keyboards are really cool. They're really ergonomic. They keep
it's
your
weird.
They keep your. So the whole point of them is that because doing
they
this
prevent
is
weird
not good for
crossovers
you.
and stuff, and yeah, I get it.
Like having your hands all like tightly close together and like on because like I have a 65% keyboard. I have a tiny. It is not much bigger than my laptop keyboard. And like I know you guys are like cringy and like, oh, that's terrible. I like them. I like the minimalism.
About that minimalist lifestyle.
I like the minimalism of a.
But the
of
problem
a
is that
65 or a 10 keyless, but oh man,
I'm a
I
big
don't know.
man.
I want my full size keyboard. I need
Yeah.
my numpad. I
Yeah.
need my like extra
Well, they
function
make a
buttons,
full
even
size
though I
wall
never
of
use
that.
them.
Oh man, you gotta get on
I've
that
just got the
F5 game.
memorized location of like alt print screen and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And I love my macro keys, even though I never use them. I still want to have macro keys.
Yes, I love my macro keys, dude. I use them daily, hourly.
I
minutes.
did actually use them more often at work for certain things,
Yes.
like build and compile or whatever. Yeah, macro for that shit. Why
I have
am
a
gonna-
dedicated compile button on my keyboard.
Yeah, exactly.
F7 is the compile one in our software that we use. So I
Yeah.
use that all the time. F7 is compile. F8 is batch build, dude. It's so convenient.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
I couldn't live without function keys at work.
Web developer noises. My code hot reloads when I save.
Wow, look at you being so special, not programming and not compiling shit. I see you.
You're not using
now,
WebAssembly?
The project I'm working on now is compiled because it's all Go, which I'll go on a rant about in the next podcast.
Let's hear about Go next time.
Yeah,
Ladies
next
and
time.
gentlemen, this has been the Casual Coders Podcast. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.